Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this JavaScript quick tip we are going to learn how to convert callback functions into promise functions. This technique can be used in any JavaScript framework including Angular, React Native, or just a plain browser-based application. If you don't know what promises are, they are the new way of doing asynchronous programming in JavaScript, but before promises existed we often used callback functions, and because of this a lot of existing libraries continue to use callbacks. So this video will show you how to convert those functions into using promises. To illustrate that, I'm going to use two common callback-based functions. One of them is the native JavaScript setTimeout function, and the other is the popular Jquery.get function. We'll start with setTimeout, which you use by calling setTimeout and providing a callback function, and then a length of time that you'd like to wait before that function is called. We'll set it to 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. And after that length of time, we will console.log setTimeout. I'll save and refresh so we can test it out. Now when I press set timeout, it will wait 1 second and then the console will log set timeout. If we want to convert that to a promise function, we can create a new function called set timeout async. And what we need to do is return a new promise which takes a function with resolve and reject parameters. Resolve and reject are both functions themselves that should be called whenever the promise is either successful or fails. Inside of this promise we should call setTimeout, but instead of supplying a callback function we will just give the resolve function. And in order to make this function more flexible, we will take a time as an input and we'll supply that as our setTimeout time parameter. Now we can delete the old setTimeout and call setTimeout async, and we will supply 1000 milliseconds as our time, and since this returns a promise we can use the .then syntax, and inside of this we will console.log setTimeout async. Now we can save and refresh and test this out, so I'll click set timeout, and after a 1 second delay we will see it logs setTimeout async. The next example I want to use is Jquery's .get function. That's called by typing $.get and supplying a URL and then a callback function with some data. So I will console.log that data. And this is just a sample website that will send us some data when we call get on it. Save and refresh. And when I click jquery.get, we see now that we are receiving some data. If we want to convert this to a promise function, we can do it the same way. So I'll create a new function and I'll call it getAsync. It will take a URL as a parameter. And once again, we need to return a new promise, which takes a function with resolve and reject. And inside of this promise function, we need to call jquery.get, and we'll supply the URL that is passed in right here. And instead of giving our callback function, we will once again supply resolve. Now we can call our getAsync function, supplying the URL, and once again, since it is a promise, we can use the .then syntax, and we can console.log the data. I'll save and refresh, and now when I click jquery.get, we still get the data, however now it is using the promise syntax, which is the current standard way of doing asynchronous programming. I hope that helped, and thanks for watching the video.